Hey, I hope you had an opportunity to try the code out because it's going to get a little bit more complicated in this lesson where we're going to introduce recursion. So what we want to accomplish in this lesson is have the ability to call back to fetch all until we have no more next. So just as we saw down here when we were fetching the data, we checked to see if there was data next. And if that existed, then what we did is we provided the user the opportunity for the next button. So in this case, we want to do something a little bit different where instead of the next button, we want to automatically do recursion back to the function and fetch all again and continue to build this planets array object until we've got all of the planets already in there. So there's a number of ways that we can do this where we can, when we get the data back, we can continue to build out the array object. So instead of calling it planets, we're going to have to introduce a condition here, as well as introduce something a little bit different where we're updating and we're adding to the existing planets. So let me show you how that's going to work. So taking the information from planets, and we're going to check to see if the data, so just as we did before, if data has next, then we want to call it again. Otherwise, we are ready to resolve. So we can move the resolve into the success statement here. So this means that there's no more next. We're going to also have to make some adjustments to the variable names because we want to create this list. So creating a brand new list or a brand new array. And this is where we're going to hold all of the information. So instead of going into planets, making a slight change here where planets is going to be the one that is existing, and this is the one that we're constantly updating. And instead of returning back planets, we're going to return back the array. We can get rid of the console message because we don't use that, and just going to do a quick cleanup of it. So right now, what's going to happen is if data is next, then we've got to continue to build this planets array until we're ready and we don't have any next. Then we're going to take whatever is in planets and we're going to just simply update and continuously add it and update it. So if data is next, and what we want to do is actually what we're going to do instead is we're going to take planets and we're going to add it together. So planets, every time we're making our request, we want to get the data that's being returned back, all the data results. So we're taking planets and we're adding planets and we're concatenating to that existing planets whatever the result of data results is. And if you've never used the array prototype concat, what it does is it allows us to merge two or more arrays together. And in this case, what we want to do is we want to continuously add in the new results into the existing array of planets. So that's where we can use concat. And you can see the example here at the Mozilla Developer Network where we've got one array, we've got two arrays. We use array 1, concat array 2, and it's array 2 that we're adding to array 1. So that's important that the order is important because you don't want to try to add the old array to the new array. You're not going to get the right results. So make sure that you do have the old array or the array that you want to grow and the new content that you want to add into the array added in within concat. And you can see the expected output results. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F. So let's add that into our project. So instead of dumping it directly into planets, we're going to add it to data results. So this is going to continuously build out that planets array. And we can see that as we're logging it out and call it planets. And then if data is next, then we want to do something else. We want to make our other call here. So let's see what happens so far. So right now, we only still get the 10, but we're returning them back properly. So this is actually coming from the location here where we've got the planets and console log, and then we're resolving and we're returning the array information. Anything because this information is coming from the console log. We're still stuck within this promise because we haven't had a resolution to it. There's been no resolve, so we're still stuck in there and we're not getting any output. So we're not able to output the planets as we were before because we're still stuck in that promise. So that means that we need to still update this. And the updating part of this is where we can console log out and we can say, okay, well, there's next as well. Next URL or something like that. And then we can output the URL information. And that was under data next. So now when we press me, it gives us the URL. So we're on the right track, and we need to call back to fetch. We need to pass in some information back into fetch. And this requires two parameters. So it requires the URL that we need to get the next set of values from. And then also that planets array that's been building. So far we've got 10 in there, and we're going to continue to build on that. So let's see what happens. So we see what's happening here is we're continuously building until we get to 61, but we don't have any resolve on it yet. So we're still getting that next, and we need a way to resolve this. So if it's complete, if this promise is complete, if this get planets is complete, then adding in one more, we needed a way to finally resolve it. And this gave us our opportunity to resolve it. So once this is completed, once fetch all is completed, and once there's no more data next, then there's a resolution on this loop that's creating these new promises, and we just simply do resolve. And what resolve will do is it will break us out of that promise and send us to the else statement, which will build the planets array and then finally send it back to resolve, where we're able to pick it up and output planets and then output all of the planet information onto the page. And some of them just didn't have films, so that's why it's not being passed in. So we might want to update that and get rid of the unordered list if there's no films. And as you can see, this information is contained, so it's not passing any films within that array. And that's going to be handled within the output planets, because so far right now, we've got a total count. We'll do some final adjustments. We're going to list out how many results we got, and then before we loop through them. So that is all still yet to come in the next lesson. So I know this one was fairly complex, and we had quite a bit of promises and then resolving of promises, but it is important to get used to that. That's, of course, what this section is all about. So do try this out and make sure that you are able to resolve out of all of the promises and output the data finally onto the page. And coming up next, we've got some tweaks and adjustments.